This tiny little graphics card is the future of some specific type of gaming, and it also just happens to be the time where I should be upgrading my home server / gaming PC. Over the course of the past few years, I've made countless amounts of budget gaming PC build guide videos by converting an old Office OEM desktop into a powerful gaming PC, and some of them have been that super small form factor design that can't fit a normal size graphics card. I've also made some videos about home servers and home theater PCs, which are housed inside these 2U server chassis, and they can't fit the bigger cards as well. Up until this point, we've been very limited to one NVIDIA card and one AMD card, the GTX 1650 and RX 6400, but everything changes with the card that we're testing today. I've been anxiously awaiting a card like this, but honestly, I kind of waited too late because this card is about to be replaced really soon. For now though, this is still the best one available, so let's check it out. And real quickly, since I know my audience is always interested in saving money when building and selling gaming PCs, today's video sponsor GVG Mall can definitely help you out with that. I've worked with GVG Mall for so long now and have bought probably close to 100 keys myself, and they're hooking you all up big time with the 25% off discount if you use code ZTT18 with the link in the description. GVG Mall has Windows activation keys as well as Microsoft Office, game keys for platforms like Steam and Origin, and they even have console stuff too like PSN and Xbox prepaid cards. Activating Windows couldn't be easier. Just paste in the key that you get instantly after paying on the website, so remove that ugly unactivated watermark for good. Don't forget to use ZTT18 for 25% off with the link in the description. So this here is the NVIDIA RTX A2000, and the model name alone brings up 2 points worth mentioning. First, this is not a GeForce or gaming graphics card, and rather this type of card is specifically used for office workers and workstation types of environments. In my previous IT job, I've purchased a ton of these types of cards for programmers because they have a lot of VRAM, are very power efficient, and they can slot into almost every type of workstation. They're also super stable when it comes to driver releases, but obviously these workstation type of graphics cards aren't getting brand new drivers for every single new game launch. One of the reasons why AMD and NVIDIA gaming cards are so powerful is because they are constantly building drivers for each and every new major game release. That way the game can properly utilize all of the power that the GPU has to offer. With a non-gaming graphics card, that's not the case, so games just rely on the raw power of the card rather than the driver optimizations and efficiencies. But fear not though, despite the size and lack of driver support for this graphics card, this is still a beast and can tear through any game in 1080p. Going back to the model name though, the other thing worth mentioning is that this is in fact an RTX card, so it can actually handle some ray tracing workloads if you were interested. To be honest, that's not something that I'm personally interested in because that's just not how I'm going to be using this home server / home theater gaming PC. Speaking of which though, many of you probably have no idea what this is, but I made a video on this budget home server PC last year and it's close to 500,000 views actually. Let me know down in the comment section if you want to see more videos like this, by the way. In that video, I explained that this is the PC that's hooked up to my home theater projector, so my wife and I use this almost every single day once the kids go to sleep, and it's also running my Plex server to host a lot of the movies and TV shows that my family watches. This has honestly been one of my most stable PCs in my entire life, and we haven't had a single issue with it over the last year, which begs the question why I'm even pulling it out of my server rack and touching it, but I'm just too excited for this tiny little GPU upgrade. The GPU that I previously had in here is just a GTX 1650, and this new A2000 will wipe the floor with it, as we're about to see in the benchmarking section. Now I'll admit, I don't do a ton of gaming in my home theater setup, but honestly, I really want to because it's just so relaxing being able to prop up your feet and just game on the couch with a controller.
You don't say!
While I have this server out here in the studio, I figured we might as well refresh it a bit with some other newer parts, and honestly, the first thing that I noticed was how dusty this thing got. The front intake fans had a solid layer of dust on here, so I grabbed the data vac and took care of it, but once I opened it up, it was virtually spotless in there, which was great to see. This Roswell 2U server chassis is one of my favorite designs for a 2U custom server build, and it's great to see that the airflow has been solid and dust accumulation, other than the front grille, has been minimal over the last year. So for the parts that we're upgrading to today, if we're gonna put a new beefy GPU in here, we're gonna have to balance things out with the new CPU as well. Currently, there's just an Intel i3-10100F in here, which has been perfectly fine so far, but that would indeed bottleneck the A2000, so we don't want that. To upgrade, I picked up this Intel i5-10400F, which has 2 more cores and 4 more threads, and this is still a very relevant gaming CPU here in 2023 for budget builds and flips. I also needed an extra 10th gen Intel CPU for one of our benchmarking rigs here in the studio, so we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. I probably shouldn't say that though. Actually, my 3-year-old son Antonio has been questioning me on literally everything lately.
Why? And
And now he's gonna ask me why I killed 2 birds. scratch that. Anyways, aside from the CPU and GPU, I also asked Corsair to hook us up with an SSD upgrade, so they sent over this 2TB MP600 Pro NH, and this is a blazing fast Gen 4 NVMe drive. This has ridiculously fast read and write speeds of up to 7,000 over 6,500 megabytes per second, and it's honestly overkill for our type of CPU, motherboard, and build today. I honestly forgot that I previously had in there a Corsair MP510, which they sent me last time, but I specifically wanted to upgrade from 1TB to 2TB, so thanks to Corsair for helping that mission get accomplished. Now that we know that we're going to completely overhaul all of the performance parts inside this build, we definitely need to benchmark it in just a bit, but one thing that I want to quickly talk about is how this is a terrible time to be upgrading a PC like this, specifically with this GPU. Despite how excited I am about this RTX A2000 low-profile GPU, we literally just got news last week that Gigabyte is preparing an RTX 4060 low-profile card, and if this is true, it'll absolutely destroy the performance of this one here. As of right now, we literally have zero confirmation when or if this is even launching, and we currently only have these Gigabyte pictures to go off at the time of producing this video. One thing to note, however, is that this GPU is a 3-fan design, which you never see on a low-profile graphics card, and this won't even fit in a ton of small form factor and ITX builds. If we take a look at our Roseville chassis again, you can see that we do actually have about 3 to 4 inches here left of clearance since we don't have an HDD in this tray, but this tray is actually removable, so we'd certainly have enough clearance for a longer card. Again, I love this case. However, with some of those Dell Optiplexes and other Office OEM desktop PCs that I like to build, those often do not have the extra clearance, so we'll definitely just need to wait and see on that. Now, I'm personally still excited about this A2000 because we still don't know when or if that 4060 is actually coming or not, so let's benchmark it as it is right now to see what kind of extra performance we're getting. I do want to apologize now though, this is going to be one of our weaker benchmarking runs, and that's because Sam didn't help me at all over here because he's been completely slammed with building and shipping out the gaming PCs on our website, zttbuilds.com. Over the past few weeks, we've been selling and shipping out so many gaming PCs, and I greatly appreciate your support if you pick one up. I'm literally driving to the UPS store every single day to drop off builds, so yeah, we didn't have enough time for a full benchmarking run here. We're also only using games and tests that had a canned pre-built benchmarking in them. Again, it's just to save some time. And real quickly, one thing that we did notice before testing is that the sound of the fan for my A2000 was a bit louder than I would have liked. We actually pulled out the decibel meter and we jumped up to about 57 to 55 dB, and the sound was just a little bit off. Thankfully, I had a second A2000 because we're making another video with it here soon, and I just love these low profile GPUs, and this one was more quiet than the first one. I'm not sure which one you'll see if you buy one for yourself, but there could be some inconsistencies here with this tiny little blower fan on this graphics card.
She's gone from suck to blow. What?
And finally, before we start, the other thing that we're going to test today is a desktop RTX 3060, and this is for two main reasons. First, I've seen a lot of people say that the A2000 is in between the RTX 3050 and 3060 level of performance, so I wanted to verify that for myself. And secondly, if the RTX 4060 low profile is indeed actually real, then a desktop 3060 is probably our most realistic comparison to see how that would perform in the future. But now let's get started, and the first game we tested was 3D Mark's Time Spy, and here you can see the results. The server build before the CPU and GPU upgrade got a score of 3,473, and after our upgrades, we got a 77% increase up to a score of 6,155. That's a huge boost in performance, obviously, but the desktop 3060 also got a 33% increase higher than that, so the A2000 is definitely a good bit away from the 3060 level of performance. And yes, if you're wondering, the 3060 testing was a little funky because it physically can't fit inside our 2U server. It's literally just hanging outside the case like this with the side panel completely removed, but that's good enough for our testing today. Next up, we tested Cyberpunk 2077, and when using 1080p in medium settings, we initially got an FPS average of 42, which still isn't terrible, but now we're up to 84 FPS with the upgrades. That's a literal 100% boost in performance. The RTX 3060 also got a 30% increase higher than that, up to 109 FPS, but still, I like to see that this A2000 and 10400F upgrade was enough to get us from well under 60 FPS to well over it. After that, I tested Forza Horizon 5, and in 1080p medium, we got 67 FPS originally, but then I got a 66% increase after our upgrades. This time, the RTX 3060 only got a 14% increase higher than that, but the difference between 111 and 126 FPS is very minimal, especially when my projector is only a 60 Hz display. And for the last two games, I didn't bother to test the RTX 3060 because I already got my confirmation that the A2000 is a good bit under that level of performance. And here with Far Cry 6, we got 66 FPS originally in 1080p and low, and then we got a huge bump up to 105 FPS, which is a 59% increase. And finally, here's Call Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and in 1080p basic, or essentially just medium settings, we got a 50% increase after our upgrades. So yeah, I'm super pumped that this home server slash home theater gaming PC upgrade project got anywhere from a 50 to 100% increase in gaming performance just from these few upgrades, but the only thing left to do is for me to actually game with it and enjoy it properly. And also, I was kind of hoping that the A2000 would perform closer to the RTX 3060 level performance though, but we definitely just need to keep our expectations in check here because we're talking about a single fan low profile GPU that doesn't even have an external power connector. If the RTX 4060 low profile is indeed a real thing and it's actually coming, then that will easily be the low profile GOAT. And if that does launch, I'll definitely be making a video on it as soon as it comes out. For now though, this A2000 will have to take the crown, but do keep in mind that this card usually costs around $250 to $300. That honestly makes it not worth it for those Office OEM desktop PCs because it'll just jack up the cost too high for that type of system. But for those of you that are rocking these niche server builds or home theater gaming PCs, the A2000 is indeed your best bet right now. And if you do want to see some more in-depth details about this home server and why I think every gamer and every person should build one for themselves, then feel free to click the video that's on the screen now.